Hi, this is Tatiana Moroz, and you're listening to Journalistic Revolution.
This is Journalistic Revolution, sitting down with Jim Babka here at the Campaign for Liberty meeting in Orlando, Florida. How you doing today, Jim?
I'm doing good.
All right. First, I wanted to congratulate you. You just recently became a pastor, right?
Yes, I did.
I had a specific question for that one.
Oh, man. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, you just became a pastor, so how does your faith help you inside the movement for freedom?
You know, it was very important to me as I began investigating and discovering these ideas that they be consistent with my faith. And as it turns out, they were. And this has become something of a moral quest for me. We're very much talking about an idea that's very closely related to the Golden Rule, which Jesus Christ said summed up the law and the prophets. And the idea is the zero aggression principle. It's not even quite as strong as what Jesus suggested, because he was actually suggesting that we love one another, we look out for one another, and we're just simply saying, hey, one step less than that. Let's all agree to not harm one another. Let's start there, okay? And that's kind of the beginning of the way we look at politics and society. Most people interact with each other on this positive basis. They value and approve of the Golden Rule, but what we want them to do is begin to apply that in their political life too, and that means allowing others to live by their values and their conscience as well in this free country that we've built on this principle.
Well, what do you think, what kind of condemnation does it really say to the Christian right, if you will, when Ron Paul was booed for saying that our foreign policy should be like the Golden Rule?
Right. You know, that was actually a really, really important moment for me personally, and it set me off on yet another kind of quest. I'm working right now, I'm saying this out loud for the first time here in an interview, I'm working on a book on the subject of empathy, because I think empathy is so important. And I think what was lacking that night, and the fact that they would boo the words of their own Savior being applied to a political issue, shows exactly what the problem is. Because a lot of the people in that audience are church-attending people that understood this idea in principle. You know, it was great theory, but then they begin to ask themselves, maybe is Jesus not realistic? You know, maybe do we have to hew a little closer to Machiavelli? Is Machiavelli our Savior?
Yeah.
And so, you know, that politics is brutal, and we've got to have the sword, and we've got to be forceful. And so I want to bring that to people's attention. I want to have, I would say, a very difficult conversation. I think the reason they booed is it touched them a little bit close to home. They didn't want to hear their Savior invoked because they very conveniently or comfortably are holding these values and not fully trusting that Jesus meant what he said, and that, even more important, Robert, it actually works.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I was looking over the Downsized DC.org, right?
Yes.
And it states on there that there needs to be a fundamental change in the political climate. What is that change that you're looking to make?
Well, we're really focused on the zero aggression principle. And we're focused on the notion that people have to, at Downsize DC in particular, that we have to have enough people who agree, that have the same philosophy, that want to change things. It really does come down to a numbers game. If there's not enough people that agree with you, you can't achieve social or political change. So it really starts with reaching out to people and having a very different kind of conversation. And then it begins to apply itself in law. And we use DownsizeDC.org as a tool to begin speaking to Congress, to speak truth to power. And we make it as simple and as we can for people. It's a free system. You come in, you put your basic contact information. The system tells you who your representative and 2 senators are and allows you to send a personalized message. And the way those messages are delivered, we know that the congressional offices count them, report the numbers to the bosses, and many of our people get letters back. Maybe the letters don't address everything that they expected. They get kind of a form boilerplate letter.
Pretty
but the point is,
response.
Exactly, but they know that office got the letter. And it's not the eloquence of your arguments at that point that matters, it's the number of people who are doing it. So our goal is to find as many people, to build up as many people who agree with us on a philosophical basis, who agree with us on a moral basis, that they want these things fundamentally changed and that they no longer consent to things being done in their name and with their money.
Awesome. Now, this other one is a little bit more of a philosophical question.
Good.
There's a significant movement nowadays towards volunteerism and anarchism. Now, how can we reconcile those voluntaristic and anarchistic beliefs with the statism of voting and stuff to help further the message and philosophy of freedom?
Well, I'm a fan of the term voluntarism, but I really don't think I like the term anarchism applied to me, because I think it leaves an impression in people's minds of chaos or disorder, lawlessness, violence even. And so I don't really want to be associated with that so much. And in fact, I think the most anarchic institution we have in the country is the Congress. They don't follow any rules, right? I mean, they make them up as they go along. So we don't want to emulate that or promote that or confuse anybody. I like the term volunteerism. I've got another term I use, which is post-statism, to describe my views, but it's very, very similar. It's a forward-looking way of thinking about it. I really believe that we've been evolving towards this point. Now, your question again.
The question was, is like, as far as statism goes, because a lot of voluntaristic and anarchism believe that any voting is statism.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So how would you reconcile those two philosophies?
Yeah, I think that's really easy. It's a matter of self-defense, right? As a general rule, I don't want to use violence, okay? I certainly don't want to go around starting it. That's my moral philosophy. That's what we're talking about here. But I do believe I can use it in self-defense in certain situations. There are times when I'm under threat or my family's under threat or I see something completely unconscionable going on that I could choose to intervene and stop what's happening, okay? What's happening right now is that no matter how much you choose not to care about what the politicians are doing, they will impose on your life. And one of the means that we have to begin doing something about that is to participate in the elections, to do something in voting. I don't think it's substantial. I don't think it's going to affect very much, but here's why we need to do it.
Okay.
If you look back at the founding revolution that started this country, you will see step after step after step that the founding fathers tried to work things out with the king, right? And it culminates in something called the Olive Branch Petition. We don't teach enough about this in the schools,
okay.
But it precedes the Declaration of Independence. They literally reached out to the king and said, look, we still want to be Englishmen. We still want to be affiliated with you. We're not rejecting your rule. All we're asking for are some concessions that recognize our basic humanity and keep our rights in this lawmaking process, rights that we believe we have as human beings. And it was the king. It was the king, Robert, who declared his subjects in open rebellion. He refused to even allow the Olive Branch Petition to be read to him. He would not hear it. And it was only after he declared them in open rebellion, not them declaring rebellion, but him declaring them in rebellion, that they sat down and they wrote a statement that was designed to justify them to the whole world. If you read the Declaration of Independence, it's about 4 pages long if you print it out.
Yeah.
The last 3 pages are not all that spectacular. It's a litany, a list of things that were wrong, things that had been done to them and that offended them. What makes that document great was the first page, because it laid out a case, and that case was designed to be put, as they made very clear, to the whole world, before God and the entire world. They wanted to make their case. This is where we stand and why we are taking the actions we are taking now in declaring independence. They were thoughtful, plotting, procedural. They went through the necessary steps so that the whole world would see the justness of their cause. So if we are not thoughtful and plotting, careful, patient, so that the whole world can see the justness of our cause, and if we leap to the end result, whatever that is, we will not bring as many people with us. So I think it's important that we exhaust the things that we have available to us, but obviously we have to do more, and we have to get into some of these other areas as well. So I believe in a holistic approach, and that includes voting.
So any step towards freedom is a good step.
It is a good step, yes.
Well, let me ask you this then. So what basically you're saying is the same philosophy that voluntarists and anarchists use, of that I don't want to participate in the system because that's giving consent to the system.
Right.
But they'll obey the system out of duress. We should what's the word I'm looking for? We should interact with the system out of that same duress as obeying the system. As in, if they come with a gun to my head and say I have to pay taxes, I'm going to pay the taxes. So if they're going to put a gun through my head through legislation, I should at least pay attention to that legislation.
You're literally being given a chance to respond. You're being given a chance to resist. It's not much. I concede that. And and the game itself is fairly rigged with the rules that they put in place as to who can get on the ballot and how their campaigns can be financed. It's really rigged to a playing field.
The Ron Paul election was a perfect example.
There's so many of them we could go on. We could have a whole show about that. But it is rigged, so I'm not going to suggest that it's powerful or efficacious, but it's necessary so we can demonstrate the justice of our cause, and it is morally a means of self-defense.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for taking the short
Thank you very much.
time,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is Journalistic Revolution with Jim Babka. Take a look at his website, downsizedc.org. Thanks again, guys.